everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this episode of Closer Chats. I have a special guest. Please introduce yourself and let the people know what you do.
My name is Mulonda, but everybody calls me MULOS. Currently self-employed consultant.
As always, this chat is a very open and raw chat. The whole point of having these chats is to talk about subjects that people find embarrassing, painful, too real to talk about amongst themselves, and to just give you guys maybe a starting point for conversations and maybe a whole different perspective on subjects that you might be curious about. This is not a professional chat. We are just two people talking about real life issues like real people do. Let's get into it. There is a very big social blind spot when it comes to infertility because the focus is usually on the women. If you can't have children, it's usually the woman's problem, I guess, according to Africans, because men are men, and you know, it's not possible for someone to not be able to have children. So you find women going to hospitals and getting themselves checked, and the man won't even go and have himself checked. So like, is it something that men talk about amongst themselves?
No, it's a conversation which is not talked about directly. It's hinted at. If a guy doesn't have a child by a certain age, people will be hinting, they'll be cracking those jokes that when you die, they'll shove a piece of charcoal up your butt.
Why? Why is that?
Traditionally, I think a guy who doesn't have a child is buried with some charcoal.
Is there a significance?
I don't know. So a lot of guys actually do a lot of things not to be buried with that charcoal. But nowadays things are changing. Things are changing as people get more and more exposed.
Why is it that a lot of times women are blamed when there's no child? You find mothers-in-laws telling you to take a second wife, and you know, your husband's relatives cursing you. We've seen these stories in the local courts of people being divorced because they couldn't produce a child and the husband wouldn't even get tested.
No, I think you need to realize that getting your sperm count tested, it's expensive. So we go for the cheaper route. Women are expected to be able to have children. Men are assumed to always be able to have children anyhow. I mean, some people are able to have kids each and every time they have sex. Others, you know, it takes a while. So it's really difficult. It's something that people don't really want to talk about. So they'll go for the easier option, and the easier person to talk bad about is the woman compared to the man. So there are all those cases where immediately the woman is chased, she meets another guy, falls pregnant, and eventually a lot of guys are raising kids who are not their own. They know that they never fathered that kid, but probably pride and relief makes them accept that child, and they become happy. So it's complicated. So
they know the children aren't theirs?
Yeah, they know, but I mean, they come to love them. A lot of them come to love them. Others probably hate them all their lives, but I mean...
Is that something that men admit amongst themselves?
No.
Where you're like, oh, I'm suspecting that?
No.
Wow.
It would be very rare. I mean, no one wants to be laughed at. So, I mean, that would be admitting some sort of weakness or admitting defeat to your peers, and no one really wants to do that.
When you're growing up as guys and you have all your conversations, does the fact that you might not be able to have children someday ever come up?
No.
It doesn't, because you know, for women, we're like, oh, the moment you get your period, you're like, oh, you're a woman now, you know, be careful, do this and do that, like that there's nothing, no conversation.
Okay, in my experience, no. I mean, it's something it's just implied and assumed that the guy will be able to have kids, and if he doesn't have kids, maybe he's using safe sex, or just doesn't want to have kids, or they're using family planning, or something is wrong. So we don't really discuss it.
So you grow up being assured of something. So you already have it in your head that you're going to be good at this thing. And when someone deflates your ego and tells you that, oh, you're the problem,
it never actually happens, because very few people actually go and get sperm count or be tested for their fertility. So it's generally assumed that the guy can have kids on demand.
I suspect at some point, though, that someone would be sitting in his car and thinking to himself, why isn't this happening?
No, they'll be solo. They'll probably do some Google search and WebMD or something, but very few guys would actually open up about their inability to have kids. It's just a difficult topic to talk about.
But should we make our environment a safe space for men to?
It will probably take a long time, because I mean, we've got very high birth rates and teenage pregnancies, so it's not on anybody's agenda right now. I mean, we've got too many pressing problems in Zambia that the lesser problems get relegated.
Yeah.
But Zambia has had a lot. We've got so many problems. You know, if you look at the HIV/AIDS pandemic era, a lot of illnesses and diseases and conditions were pushed aside as we tried to save as many people from getting AIDS.
Yeah.
Prostate cancer. I mean, how many Zambian men died of prostate cancer because they thought they had matenda, they thought they had AIDS? Breast cancer, cervical cancer. I mean, imagine the people back in the day who had these cancers.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything about it. We're just talking about HIV/AIDS. When HIV/AIDS pandemic reduced a bit, we started noticing that there were a lot of cancers out there. So were those cancers there even before, or did they just start?
We're in the cancer era now.
Yeah,
this is actually the cancer era, because there's a lot of information and awareness about cancer, especially women's type of cancer.
It all depends on which donor is funding what.
Yeah.
Because there are no donors funding breast cancer and prostate cancer. They're all with the cervical cancer. So until one donor comes and pumps in money into these other two cancers, then we'll know about the other cancers. So with all these problems, fertility or infertility is really relegated to among the least severe problems. We've got enough people in the country. We've got really high birth rate. So probably someone would look at it that a few people not being able to have children wouldn't be considered a serious problem yet, unless they're very rich, at which point they can afford to have themselves checked, treated, or adopt or do something.
I read somewhere, I think it was like a 2002 study. I know we're in 2017, but I haven't found anything too recent that was talking about alcohol consumption in Zambia. And I had a conversation with someone, and he was talking about how men don't open up and talk about their problems, so they turn to alcohol. So 76% in 2002, 76% of men in Zambia consumed alcohol, and 26% of women consumed alcohol.
Zambia is a country where we expect people to conform to some sort of norm, and the norm is drinking. So those who don't drink are considered a bit on the freaky side, that there's something wrong with them, or they've got some hidden agenda. But alcohol, back to the topic, alcohol abuse is real. I've had a lot of friends who've really overdrank. You know, they've drank themselves to serious problems, health problems, financial problems, and also some have gone some have died early because of alcohol. And then we also look at car accidents. Yeah.
The statistics also say that men are more prone to having car accidents under the influence than men, and there's a higher number of accidents that are caused because of drinking alcohol. So the thing is, there's alcohol abuse and then there's alcohol addiction. So abuse is drinking excessively, I guess, and then addiction is a physical and psychological dependence on alcohol. There's a lot of talk about alcohol abuse in this country, but there are no statistics about alcoholism?
Okay, so the thing is that Zambia is a poor country. So because of the nature of our economy, very few people can afford addictions throughout the month. So you notice that somebody maybe 5 days after payday, when they have squandered all their money on beer, they can't afford beer, so they actually work hard to get more money to buy the alcohol. So the alcohol abuse and addiction sometimes is hidden by the fact that people cannot afford their addictions throughout the month. So there's some sort of disparity. You notice a guy I knew once. He was really an alcoholic. You'd actually be able to tell when he got paid by the type of beer he was drinking. So on payday, in the days that follow, he'll be drinking the high-end stuff, and he would come home belegede, super drunk. As the days progress, he starts drinking cheaper beers, and still comes home very, very drunk. Then, as we move further from the payday, he's drinking the cheapest lagers that he could buy, and he'll still come super drunk. Then you reach a point maybe the middle of the month or 10 days after payday, all the money is finished and he's sober, He's sober and he's talking sense and everything. He's even working hard and all. But immediately it's payday again, back to the cycle. So we've got that sort of thing. In other countries, people seem to have, there's credit, so you can you can swipe your card, buy your booze, get high throughout the month. So then if you go into the compounds, you've got people drinking kachasu, tujilijilis, and all the cheap booze that is there. In a poor country, it's very difficult to talk about alcohol addiction because, the people most of the time can't afford their addiction. That's what I think anyway.
It's so crazy that we can't afford to drink, and yet at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., I remember when my dad used to take me to school, in the morning we would pass through a certain area, and there would be, I think this was before the government curbed down on the time that places start serving alcohol. You would find people drunk at 6 a.m. in the morning, sharing alcohol, coming to ask for money so they can drink their alcohol. Like, where do you get this money?
They work. Most of them actually work. Alcoholics and drug addicts actually quite hardworking. I remember I did have a cousin who used to push those wheelbarrows, the Zam cabs. When the Zam cabs just came out, he used to push the wheelbarrow the whole day, and whatever he would earn, he would spend it on beer and mchopo. So he was drunk basically every day, and he was working hard every day. So there's one episode of South Park I remember, if you allow me to divert. It was on sex addiction, and they talked about sex addiction being that the only addiction which required you to work hard to afford your addiction. And technically, all addictions are like that. People are willing and ready to work extra hard so that they can maintain that high. So most of these people who do piecework, when they get paid, they go get high. Others who push the Zam cabs, taxi drivers, minibus drivers. If you look at minibus drivers and conductors, they work almost 20 hours a day. And a lot of them are usually drunk throughout.
Yeah, that's true.
So part of the problems could be that we've got nothing to do in Zambia, There are no open spaces. There's no park you can go to. People don't go and sketch. There are no places for kids to go and do roller skating or skateboarding. The swimming pools are expensive for people.
Even just to sit down and have a meal, you have to go to a place, a restaurant or something.
Yeah, so there are no pastimes around for most of the people. So some who can't handle that escape to the high that the alcohol gets, it makes them happy and they forget all their problems.
Yeah, so it's like alcohol. We use alcohol as an escape. Everybody uses drugs, I guess, at some point as an escape for something. But when you're addicted to alcohol and when you abuse alcohol, that's a whole different level. If I know any places where you can go to get help, I will link them down in the description, because I don't think it is something to joke about. It has serious impact on your life, your health, your relationships with the people that you love, and it's just like addiction. It ruins people's lives, and the worst
And
thing.
livers.
Sorry.
And livers.
And livers, yes. And also, alcohol it takes a toll on your sperm count. Just FYI.
Right. And back to alcohol, we only have one place I think that treats them, which is Chainama Health.
Chinama does that?
Yeah, Chainama helps with addictions.
Oh. Okay.
So in a population of 17 million people, we've got one tiny mental hospital that covers all mental illnesses as well as addictions. And then, again, Zambia is a country with so many problems that as long as it affects a few people, or we believe it affects a few people,
Doesn't matter.
we turn a blind eye and focus on that. Like the main things we focus on in Zambia are AIDS and malaria, those two things, because that's also where the donor money is. We've got basically, as long as they're found with more than one ball of chamba, you're treated as a trafficker. And so our drug enforcers basically show the statistics that they've arrested so many thousands of traffickers and almost zero addicts. So it's because everybody is bundled up as a trafficker, sent to prison, where they get so depressed, and they basically, if they come out of prison depressed, they'll be addicts again, so we don't treat the problem with...
Abortion is not legal in this country per se.
Okay.
It is not legal in this country per se. So what it is that the clause that has abortion in it has certain restrictions. It is girl children who are raped and defiled, and if the child poses a significant health risk to the mother. So essentially, it excludes women who have been raped, because it says girl children. So at the end of the day, we like to run away from this topic. We don't want to talk about it. We're Christians, we don't do this, we don't do that. But we have a very high percentage of women that die because of unsafe abortions. And I just want to know, like, men never really talk about it. It's always the women that are coming out strongly. And if it's men talking about it, it's like religious people. And I'm not even going to apologize. Most of the times when people come from a religious point of view, it's not rational. So I just want to know from a guy, a normal guy that doesn't have any,
Okay,
do you think we should...
Okay, I'll say this. There's two Zambias. There's a Zambia you see in the press. If you watch any Zambian news channel, all the people who are shown are all positive people. Whatever problem is there, they'll be upbeat, positive about it, and supportive of whatever the government is doing. Then you've got the Zambia they never show you. Zambia is a very decadent place. I mean, a lot of bad things happen, we don't talk about the bad things, but when they become too much and appear in the newspapers more than one day, we say there's a crisis. Come to abortion. It's never talked about publicly, when you show it on TV, you're seeing all the people who come and say the usual two lines. It's an African and an Christian, So you never show anybody who is pro-abortion. The simple truth is that a lot of people might not be pro-abortion, but they have either sponsored an abortion, or... I'm not saying a lot of people as in a lot of people. I'm just saying a lot of people as in hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've either sponsored abortions or had to facilitate an abortion. There are cases where it's done by the mothers. because they don't want the fathers to know, others it's done by the parents because they don't want the embarrassment to the family. It's done by the parents because the father is a no good arrangement and will bring shame to the family. It's done by the ladies because they don't want to, the embarrassment or the shame or to derail their lives. Then there are also cases where to some people it's a form of it's a form of contraception.
Yeah.
They would rather not use condoms, pills or any contraception, but be ready to spend a few hundreds or thousands to get an abortion. So although we don't talk about it, it happens a lot. And then depending on who you talk to, some will say abortion is legal in Zambia, has been legal since the 70s. Others will say it's absolutely illegal. Then others will bring in the Bible, others will bring in tradition. But even traditionally, there are all these traditional medicines that women do take to flush out a baby. Then you've got some people who technically dumping a child is, in their crazy mind, some form of abortion. They'll carry the child to term, go and deliver in private, and then dump the child. Then there was that other freaky case where the girl wanted to keep the child and the mother kept on trying to get her to abort the child, gave her all sorts of medicines and the likes. And when she delivered, the mother tried to snuff the baby out. So you've got all these weird things. Religion makes people talk irrationally, and it makes people pretend a lot. In Zambia, although we're a Christian nation, a conservative nation, a lot of people have had sex outside of marriage, which goes against Christian
a lot
principles.
of people's fathers are doing things that aren't very Christian.
So we're a Christian nation in inverted commas, but a lot of things happen in and around. And guys do talk about abortions, not directly or indirectly. There are a lot of guys who would talk in third person, They would want to find out where they can procure an abortion, and they would be talking in third person saying, I've got this friend, he's got this problem, he wants to do this, but then you sort of do the math and you be like, okay, it's probably you. So such things do happen, I think. A lot of people do know where you can procure an abortion.
The illegal places, not so legal places.
Yeah. And then because, as with the growing middle class, people do want a little bit more, less shady joints. The coat hanger places are sort of dying away. There are now pills and backroom medical facilities and all sorts of. There are a lot of options for abortion.
Yeah. And I think the problem is not getting an abortion. The problem is that a lot of these things aren't safe. I know only of one place that offers safe abortions.
Probably know a couple of them. Not that I suppose, but people do know where they can go to. There are a lot of doctors who are doing it. A lot of people talk about
UTH should as well.
Yeah, UTH,
actually.
yeah.
But then they have to follow the law.
Yeah, so with a lot of corruption and easy money around, there are people who do these things in the back door. Even if you can come in through the front door, they'll make it hard so that you use the back door, they pocket the money. So basically you can procure an abortion in Zambia very, very easily. And watching TV and seeing all the righteous people who mislead you, but it's very easy to.
Yeah. I was going to say, should we just put it out on the table and have the law just be pro-choice?
Okay, well, we've got, I think ever since we were declared a Christian nation, every other president has defended that. So it would be tricky if Parliament were to pass a pro-abortion law. The president would have to assent that, and each and every president has had to come out as a strong believer. So we're
against abortion, but the death penalty is fine.
No Zambian, I think.
I know we haven't killed anyone, but
Yeah.
it's still there.
No, it's we just turn a blind eye. We basically if it's a very sensitive topic, we turn a blind eye. What's this, tribalism? We turn a blind eye, except when it comes to elections, nepotism, cronyism, corruption, sexual decadence, alcohol, drugs. We turn a blind eye on all these things for whatever reason, political expediency or religious expediency. But we've got a lot of problems which we've turned blind eyes to, and abortion is one.
Okay, yes or no? Should women have the choice to decide what happens
Okay.
to a child that they're carrying?
No, they should have the choice, and we should they should have a choice, and we should market contraception more. I mean, people need to know how they can actually prevent pregnancies and the likes, and what options they have if they do fall pregnant. Because right now, I know a lot of people do take the morning after pill, like it's Panadol, They're just basically taking one every couple of days or every week or so. Then what are the long-term health effects on that? Then what are the long-term health effects of having multiple abortions? What are the long-term health effects of taking the standard pill or those injections? What we always have donor-funded projects where people come and say, take this pill or take this injection, it's going to sort out these things. And then we never really look at what are the long-term effects on the people,
We don't have options.
Yeah, we don't have options.
We don't really have, they don't market options to you. They market a product,
Yeah.
a specific product to you.
Same with the vaccinations.
Education is very important.
Yeah.
Gaining knowledge is very important. Having choices is also very important.
And also kids need to have safe spaces where they can play, Teenagers right now, all they do is watch TV and go to school, Even in holidays, they have to go for tuition, So they are always just reading. They've got nothing to do in their spare time. And one of the easiest things to do in the spare time for a child is sex. And there's nothing to distract them from that. We've got nowhere to play basketball, to play any childish games. They're always enclosed in spaces. And I think we are pushing kids to having sex because they've got nothing to do. There are no hobbies, no safe spaces, nothing at all that they can do. So
besides alcohol.
Sex, drugs.
Yeah. We don't really have too many options. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a couple of things. I hope you opened your mind up to a few things. Yeah, we hope that you can continue the conversation in your personal spaces. We hope you can continue the conversation in the comments or using the hashtag. The aim of these chats is for us to create a space where we can listen to each other and not always try to figure out who's right and who's wrong and who's evil and all that kind of stuff. So stay open, continue the conversation, and I will see you next time. Bye!